welcome to the first video on the YZMMA YouTube channel. I'm obviously the host, Yoshi, and today I'm just going to be doing some quickfire predictions on UFC Fight Night, Tsarukyan versus Hooker, and also talking a little bit about Arman Tsarukyan. So I'm just going to do some quickfire picks. I'm not going to go super in-depth on most of these fights, so I'm going to start with this fight, Denzel Freeman versus Marek Bulyo. Sorry, I don't really know how to pronounce that name, but Freeman versus Marek. I'm going to be picking Freeman in this fight by round 1 KO. Listen, I don't know much about these two guys, but Denzel Freeman actually, he doesn't seem that bad to me. If you look at this most recent win that he has over Hugo Cunha, which was, I believe, a KO win in the second round where he looked good. This is a good opponent in a good promotion. LFA is not a joke promotion. And this Hugo Cunha guy, he was on Dana White's Contender Series and he lost to Rizvan Kunyev. That's not a bad loss to have. Rizvan Kunyev is a good heavyweight fighter. He proved that against Curtis Blades at UFC Baku. And Denzel Freeman was able to get that guy out of there quite easily. Freeman seems to be pretty good on the ground, has good wrestling, but then again it's heavyweight, so you really never know. This Marek guy, I watched some of his fights, but I mean, if you look at these promotions that he's fighting in, these are not the best promotions, let's be honest. Whereas Freeman is facing decent competition in LFA and I think PFL as well. So yeah, I'm going to go with Denzel Freeman here by KO in the first round. Second fight, Saigid Isagakhmaev versus Nicholas Dalby. I'm going to go with Isagakhmaev by submission in the second round. So this Isagakhmaev guy is from one championship, which I do watch from time to time. He has wins over, I think, Shinya Aoki and Li Pengzhang, James Nakashima. So, I mean, one championship by no means is a bad promotion to be fighting in. Neither is Eagle FC. That's this Khabib's promotion. And this guy's good on the ground, and I just think that he's going to get Dalby down. Dalby is coming off of a bad KO loss. I think he's going to get Nicholas Dalby down because Dalby's going to try to storm in. Saigid's going to get the fight down to the canvas, and he's going to end it round 2 submission. I think Dalby will survive the first round. He's a tough guy, but I think Saigid will get him out of there second round. Next fight, Nurullo Aliev versus Shaquem Rock. I see a lot of people going with Shaquem Rock in this fight, and I'm going with Nurullo Aliev. I think that Aliev is actually a pretty good fighter. In his last fight against, I believe it was Joe Selecki, it was not the best performance, but so it was not the best performance, but he still got it done. I think that he's a decent prospect at lightweight. He's only 24 years old, and I think that in the 10 months since that fight, he's probably made some improvements, and I just think he's going to be able to consistently get Shaquem Rock down and get control time. It's going to be a tough fight. I won't be surprised if Shaquem Rock wins, but I'm going with Nurullo Aliev to win this fight by decision, probably a 29-28 close fight. Next fight, Ryan Loder versus Ismail Nardiev. Yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan Loder here. Neither of these guys is very good. Ryan Loder obviously got KO'd badly by Azamak Bakoev, and many people think that KO hasn't aged very well for Loder, but I don't think that Bakoev is a bad fighter. I think that what's his name? Belgal Rui is just, I think that he's actually very good. So I think the guy that Bakoev lost to, it's not that Bakoev is a fraud. It's just that he lost to a fighter who's actually pretty good. And I don't think that Ryan Loder is bad. He has a win over Robert Valentin, which not the highest level fighter, but not a bad win. And I think that Ryan Loder is going to get it done against Ismail Nardiev. Ismail gassed out against Jun Young Park, fouled him brutally, and still lost the fight. And other than that, he has a win over, I think, Bruno Silva, which like everybody's been everybody's been beating Bruno Silva. So yeah, that doesn't really mean much. This one, Beksad Almakhan versus Alexandre Topuria. I'm gonna go with Beksad in this fight. I don't think that Alexandre Topuria has done enough to make me think that he can beat a guy as explosive, as sharp on the feet as Beksad Almakhan. I think that Beksad is going to be able to just land good shots. He scrambles very well. People forget in that fight with Umar Nurmagomedov, people act as if he only had one moment. The knockdown was his only moment of the fight. They're ignoring the fact that Beksad was doing well in the fight with the scrambling on the ground. It wasn't a total whitewash. Beksad did well in that fight against Umar Nurmagomedov, who arguably is the best bantamweight in the world right now. Beksad was going toe-to-toe with him in one of his first, I think one of Beksad's first fights. Yeah, against Umar Nurmagomedov, he was able to do that. And Topuria, he has a win over Colby Thickness, who I just don't think is very good. Colby Thickness he trains with Volk, but he showed us in his last fight with Musasa that he's not very good. And Topuria was not doing that good against Thickness. He won the fight, but I mean, it was not totally dominant. He didn't finish him. And that, I don't know, I just don't think that Topuria has done enough to earn my pick. So I think that Bekzat's going to win this by decision. He's going to be able to do well on the feet, and then Topuria has probably he does have the advantage in the wrestling, but Almakhan can contend on the ground as well. So Beksad Almakhan by decision. Next fight, I go with Kyoji Horiguchi by decision. So it's Kyoji versus Tagir Ulanbekov. I think that Kyoji is going to win this. If we saw that fight between Tagir and Azat, that was such a close fight, and Kyoji, I think, is just levels above Azat. And we know that now, after Azat just lost to Mitroposo. He's an underdog. You know, I understand that Ulanbekov, he trains with Khabib, but I think we know at this point that Tagir Ulanbekov really isn't that good. I think that Kyoji is going to be able to get going in the striking, but he's also definitely going to be able to get the takedowns on Ulanbekov. And Ulanbekov struggles against people who are good grapplers. And I just think that Kyoji is going to be able to get this done. He's a bit older for flyweight, but I mean, then again, so is Ulanbekov. He's only 1 year younger. So I'm going to be going with Kyoji in this fight by decision. Next fight, Abdulrahman Yakhyayev versus Rafael Sakera. I'm going to be going with Abdul to win in the second round by knockout. This is a tough fight to predict because I really don't think that Yakhyayev is that good, like, to be honest with you. He won his fight against, I think, Alik Lorenz in the Contender Series. Got him out of there very quickly in like 30 seconds, but that was a really low-level fight on the Contender Series. And, you know, Rafael Sakera is a very low-level guy, but he did take Julius Walker to a unanimous decision. He lost the fight, but he took him to a decision. Julius Walker is pretty decent at light heavyweight. So this, I'm not confident enough to say that Sakera is going to win, because I just think that Abdul, he's going to land something throughout the fight that's going to knock out Sakera. He's dangerous on the feet. There's a very low chance that he just doesn't land anything. But I think that Sakera, you know, these are not bad odds to maybe put a little bit of money on Sakera, because honestly, I would not be surprised if Sakera wins this by decision, stays safe in the fight. But Abdul probably wins. This is a setup fight. Rafael Sakera is 0-3 in the UFC, and he's being put in here to be knocked out, and I think that that's what's going to happen in the second round. But I don't think that Yakhyayev is very good. Next fight, We have Luke Riley versus Bogdan Grad. I'm going with Bogdan Grad in this fight. I'm a big fan of Bogdan Grad. I think that he's good. I'm a fan of Bogdan, and I like Luke Riley as well. I think Luke Riley is also very good, but I think that Bogdan Grad is being underrated in this fight. I think that Bogdan can get the wrestling going. We saw against Muhammad Naimov, which was a very close fight. I actually had Bogdan winning that, but it's not the worst decision in the world to give that fight to Naimov. But I think that Greg can get the wrestling going. He can make the fight a little bit dirty, a little bit crazy. Try to get inside on Luke Riley. He should not be trying to stay at range, but if he gets inside, gets the wrestling going, lands maybe some strikes in the pocket, maybe I think that Bogdan Greg can maybe get this one done. But then again, this is not a confident pick. Luke Riley 100% can win, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does win because Luke Riley is good. Next fight, Alex Perez versus Asil Amabayev. I'm going with Alex Perez. I don't want to do it. Like, of course, I'm going to support the Central Asian fighters, but like Alex Perez was able to stuff all of the takedowns and do very well against Muhammad Makayev. He has a better win over Mateus Nicolau than Asil does, which is why I'm picking Alex Perez. I just think that Alex Perez is a better fighter than Asil Almabayev. I don't think that Almabayev is that good. He didn't do well in his last fight. I think it was Jose Ochoa. He didn't look great in that fight. Just was getting the takedowns, but that's it. Just no finishing potential, nothing. And I don't think you're going to be able to do that against Alex Perez. Asil looks lost on the feet, and I think that Perez can win it on the feet. He can win it on the ground. The only reason why I'm sort of doubting Perez is that he's been a little bit inactive recently, and he's getting older, obviously. But I think that he can get it done. Very crafty veteran can get this one done by decision. But if Asu, of course, I'm supporting Asu in this fight. This is new. This is Waldo Cortez Acosta now versus Shamil Gaziev, and I think that Waldo Cortez Acosta will win this fight by whatever he wants. He's just way better than Shamil Gaziev, and I don't even think that Waldo is that good, but he'll win this 100%. Now, this is the fight we've all been waiting for. We have Jack Hermansson versus Miktabek Orolbai. I'm going with Orolbai to win this one. Jack Hermansson just had a brutal KO against RoboCop. Obviously has that win against Joe Pfeiffer. That was almost 2 years ago now. Lost to him. I mean, these are not really relevant. That's how inactive this guy is, and I think that Orolbai, Hermansson should theoretically be the bigger guy out there, but Orolbai is a very big guy, and he was struggling to make lightweight. So I think that we might see a situation similar to Islam Makhachev, where the size difference is really not that drastic. But then again, Hermansson was a middleweight going down to welterweight, so there could definitely be a size advantage here for Jack Hermansson, but there's also a huge age gap. There's 10 years in age, and I just think that the chin of Hermansson has probably degraded over these past few fights where he's taken some damage, especially in this RoboCop fight. And I think that Orolbai, he's going to be able to get him down, and then I think that he's just going to smash him on the ground and get a ground and pound win in the second round. This fight, like, I'm not even really interested in this fight. I'm not going to lie. These are two guys, like Volkan Ozdemir obviously had his time in the UFC, was good at a time, fought for the title against Daniel Cormier, but he's not as good as he once was. He did take Carlos Ulberg to a relatively competitive decision, and that's aging well for Volkan. But then again, he's getting older. But Oh, Alonso Menifield's actually older than Uzdemir. I didn't even know that. So, okay, well, yeah, Uzdemir is definitely winning this. I think that Uzdemir is just going to win however he wants. Is just going to win on the feet, win on the ground, definitely win on the ground. Menifield, he's on a decent streak now. His win over Umar Sy is impressive, especially looking at the win that Umar Sy got in France. But I still think Uzdemir's winning this. He's just going to piece him up on the feet, and he can do whatever he wants on the ground as well, I think, in my opinion. But I don't care about this fight. Like, who really does? Let's be honest. Okay, next fight. Bilal Muhammad versus Ian Machado Gary. I've been, like Bedtime MMA, I've been fence sitting this fight a lot. But I think Ian Gary's going to win. Bilal Muhammad has very, very good offensive wrestling. Definitely the best offensive wrestling that Ian Gary has faced, and one of the most physically imposing fighters that Ian Gary has faced. And Ian doesn't always do well against guys who are imposing, like Jeff Neal, like Shavkat Rakhmonov. But I still think that Ian's going to win. Ian Gary was able to totally nullify and beat Carlos Prates for 4 rounds. I had Ian Gary winning the 4th round of that fight. I think that Ian Gary won that fight clearly against Carlos Prates. That's aging very well. And I just think he's going to be able to defend the takedowns of Bilal Muhammad. He's not totally lost on the ground either. He can do his thing on the ground against Bilal. But on the feet, there's no debate. Ian Gary can piece him up on the feet as much as he wants. So I'm going to be going with Ian Gary by decision. This is a 3-round fight, so I'm going to be going with Ian Gary in this one. And then last fight, Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. I'm going with Arman Tsarukyan to win by round 2 ground and pound finish. Arman Tsarukyan is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC right now. You check the banner of the YouTube. Very big fan of him. And I think that he's going to win this easily. Like, I've seen rumors that he might be injured going into this fight, which I hope he isn't. But even if he was injured, I think he gets Dan Hooker out of there. I like Dan Hooker. I appreciate the fact that he's always trying to give us fun fights. But I think even on the feet, Arman Tsarukyan is good on the feet. He's got pop. He's got good pop in his shots. He's got decent boxing. He's not bad on the feet. And on the ground, there's just no debating this one. He will take Dan Hooker down at will, in my opinion. He'll be able to take him down and then just flatten his face with ground and pound in the 2nd round. And I think that Arman Tsarukyan is, chain wrestler, decent pop in his shots, good durability, good cardio. I think that he is the biggest problem for Ilia Topuria in the lightweight division right now. That's my opinion. So those are my quickfire predictions. There wasn't really quickfire. It was 18 minutes, but well, that was long. I got cut off, but I just want to talk a little bit about Arman Tsarukyan. As I said, he's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. If you look at my channel banner, those are all of my favorite fighters, or many of my favorite fighters are in the banner. And Arman, I've been a supporter of him since early on in his career, and I'm sad to see that now he seems to be one of the most hated fighters in the entire UFC. Any post about him is just people hating on him, mostly people who are Oliveira fans, because we know the cult of Charles Oliveira is rabid in the MMA community. If you beat Charles Oliveira, for some reason they just have a death brand on you for the rest of your career, even if you were very respectful in the fight. And that's what Arman was. He wasn't disrespectful towards Charles before or after the fight. But Oliveira fans have decided to pretty much gaslight themselves into thinking that fight was a robbery, even though it's probably the closest the most obvious and clearest 29-28 decision maybe in the history of MMA. Arman Tsarukyan very clearly won rounds 2 and 3. I think that there's honestly a better case for 30-27 Arman than there is a win for Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira had 2 moments in the whole fight. In the last Darce choke attempt wasn't even a locked-in Darce choke. Arman's arm was clearly down. There's no choke there, but still, Oliveira fans think that he should win an entire round off of that. Arman Tsarukyan went out there and outboxed Charles Oliveira on the feet. He did better on every aspect of the striking, and also outgrappled Charles Oliveira. Was doing better in the scrambles. Obviously, Oliveira is better with the submissions, but Arman was doing better in terms of the overall grappling in that fight. People, for some reason, seem to forget that, and they seem to act like that was just an extremely close fight, even though I think that quite clearly it was a win for Arman Tsarukyan, one of the clearest 29-28 decisions of all time. There's a narrative going around now, spread by these people, that Arman is like a lay and pray grappler, similar to like real lay and pray grapplers, such as Kamaru Usman in his last fight, Hamzat Chimaev in his last fight, Bryce Mitchell in his last fight. And people are claiming that apparently Arman Tsarukyan is some sort of lay and pray grappler, even though he has some of the most vicious ground and pound in the UFC. Very active wrestler. I can't really think of a fight where Arman Tsarukyan was just holding somebody on the ground and just laying on him. Right? Maybe Matt Frivola in the early days, but like I just really don't understand these accusations towards Arman Tsarukyan of him being a boring fighter. I mean, if you look at these fights in recent history, his fight with Mateusz Gamrot, one of the highest level grappling fights of all time, clearly won that fight on the basis of the damage. Demiris Mogilov, very explosive Kazakh kickboxer, not a boring fight. Joaquim Silva, this was not a very good performance from Arman, but it was still a very entertaining fight where in the third round there was blood all over the place and it was a vicious stoppage. This is obviously not boring. It's an early finish. This fight was not boring with Charles, and then other than that, like, he really doesn't have that many boring fights. It's just very confusing to me why people believe that he's some sort of boring fighter. Or why he's being accused of that. And that's only happening now that after he pulled out of UFC 311, the MMA fan base does what they always do, which is switch up on people. And all of the Arman fans, there were many of them, like me, who were with me in supporting Arman, all of a sudden they're all gone. And everybody hates him because that's just how the MMA fan base is. And yeah, I just think that Arman Tsarukyan, he's a very good fighter. I think that he can beat Ilia Topuria. He's very, very well rounded. His striking is getting better. His wrestling is very good. Not a boring fighter. Not like I understand that he was born rich, but he's not an arrogant person. If you watch like the podcast appearances he has on like on Rampage Jackson's podcast, he's not arrogant at all. He's, I just don't really understand what there is to hate about Arman Tsarukyan. It's kind of strange, and it's not like his fan base is rabid as well. I mean, there aren't really any Arman fans around anymore, but trust me, after Arman gets this win over Dan Hooker, they're going to be all over the place again. Such is the way of MMA fans. I'll make a video eventually talking about the stupidity of MMA fans and just how ridiculous it is that they're always so fickle and flip-flopping. But I think that this will be it for this video. Thank you for watching. And come back to the video when I get all the predictions correct. And this is the first video on the channel. I'm sure that in the future, everybody's going to be coming to this video as the beginning of a legendary YouTube career. So thank you for watching the video. Go Arman Tsarukyan, and